Yeah.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Westport Funny Bone. We have a great show for you this evening, but first a few simple rules. Please keep all cable talk down to a bare minimum, turn off all cell phones, and there's absolutely no recording or pictures allowed to be taken during this show. With that out of the way, please help me welcome to the stage your host and MC this evening, Patrick Brandmeier.
All right, good to see everybody here tonight. You guys ready for a great show? Got a few wrestling fans in the house tonight? Just a few. My name's Patrick Brandmeier. I'll be kicking things off to start your evening before we bring Jim up here. Just a few things about myself, if you haven't seen me on stage before. First off, I do not have any kids in my basement crawl space. Apparently I need to clear that up. I mean, I get how people perceive me because I'm really socially awkward. I hear the word creepy thrown around a lot. I don't like that word. I prefer to think of myself as a people-watching enthusiast. I mean, for some people, the camera adds 10 pounds. Apparently, for me, it adds a trench coat, a rifle, and an ice cream truck. Someone even compared me to Jeffrey Dahmer one time. That's wrong. We have completely different eating habits. I like all the usual junk foods and stuff. Jeffrey Dahmer was more of a people person. I try to get out and socialize. I remember going out to a nightclub not too long ago. Everyone there was socializing and having a good time. I was trying to beat the high score in the Pac-Man machine. That's a joke. Of course I beat the high score. But while I was there, I did get to talking to a raver chick. She had this big colorful wig and these huge furry boots. And at the time, I didn't really get the appeal of that. I mean, I know what works for me. I had done a lot of internet research on that topic. All I'm saying is Slutty Muppet was not what I was looking for that night. Given the opportunity, I am not so sure I would go down in Fraggle Rock. That's all I'm saying. And I think you know why. Cottonmouth. A little more about me. I'm from Belleville, Illinois, across the river. That's about what that deserves. But Belleville has a nickname. Do you know what it is?
Bell Vegas.
Bell Vegas, and that makes no sense at all. Belleville and Las Vegas have pretty much nothing in common, except that if you spend enough time in either place, you end up broke and depressed. What happens in Bell Vegas stays in Bell Vegas because it can't afford to go anywhere else. Think we pulled the room a little earlier. Quite a few wrestling fans here. I'm also a wrestling fan, of course. That's not really something you bring up in your first conversation with someone, is it? It's not something you put at the top of your Tinder profile. I mean, if getting intimate waits till the third date, the wrestling fandom's got to wait till the sixth at least. I mean, telling someone you watch a lot of wrestling had the same sort of stigma as telling someone you watch a lot of adult movies. Because either way, someone is going to take a look at what you're watching and say, come on, no one gets that big naturally. Though, I don't think anyone's ever had to sit a porn enthusiast down to tell them, you know they don't really love each other, right? So I'm off the market these days, that's right, recall due to low demand, that's where I'm at. You ever sign up for a matchmaking website, ask it to send you to your ideal matches, and it just shoots you to the website that sells blow-up dolls? That's not good. Yeah. I try not to think that I'm bitter about it, but these days I just refer to Valentine's Day by its initials, VD. Because both kinds of VD are red, irritating, and expensive. But Valentine's Day is one type of VD that goes away if you just ignore it for 24 hours. A lot of crazy stuff going on in the world, even in my own neighborhood. One of my neighbors told me that a coyote had been seen in the woods near my house. That was pretty scary. I should have known there was a coyote in the area, because I was getting all these packages from Acme that I hadn't ordered. I was watching the news the other day, and there was a story on there about a kidnapping, which I didn't do, by the way. But the news crawler caught my eye. It said the kidnapper had a crush on the teenage girl he abducted. And all I could think was, yeah, that's how kidnapping works. I'm just saying you don't become a kidnapper by being someone who's willing to settle. No kidnapper's thought process has ever involved the phrase, "you'll do." I'll tell you about the weirdest news story I ever saw, though. It was about a restaurant in Russia that had as their main attraction a live bear in a cage. Nothing dangerous there. Sure enough, a woman decided to reach into the cage to try to pet the bear, and the bear ripped her arm off. That is a terrible story. But when I thought about it, I realized that in Russia, bears have the right to your arms. Can you imagine if that would have happened here in America? That woman probably would have tried to sue the restaurant. I think that would have been a pretty quick case, though, Your Honor. The defense calls Charles Darwin to the stand. I think we can prove this woman's level of intelligence single-handedly. I've had some interesting jobs in my life. I did the food service thing. I did the office work. If I have one aspiration in life, it's that I want to be as knowledgeable about computers and technology as I appear to be. I can't tell you how much better my financial situation would be if I had been able to answer all of those tech questions I've been asked over the years. And it's always the same response. How do you do this? How do you do this? Call the Geek Squad. I don't know. Do the same as me. Heck, it was just a couple of years ago that I was a 40-year-old part-time Pizza Hut delivery driver. If nothing else, I learned a few things at that job. I took it as a teaching experience. First off, nowhere near as fun as the adult film industry led me to believe. No one was ordering the big sausage special. I learned people who order delivery pizza on a regular basis aren't good at budgeting their money either. I learned that when a guy decided to pay for a 2-pizza order with a $100 bill. I was like, first off, I don't have that kind of change on me. Second off, dude, you live in a trailer. You should maybe put those Ben Franklins towards something a little more practical. How about a house that doesn't have an emergency brake? I remember making a lot of deliveries to that trailer park. There were a lot of speed bumps in the road that went through the trailer park, which I didn't understand because if you live in a trailer park, you're not in a hurry to get home. I can remember one time being out for a delivery and I saw a Jeep that had slid off the road and was stuck in a ditch. Nobody was hurt, thankfully. I thought about pulling over to check on the situation, but I figured it was a Jeep thing I would not understand. We're in the holiday season. It's always going to be good to see the family. I think all of us has the one family member, though, who instead of being happy and thankful for what they have, spends the whole time grumpy and complaining about the stuff they don't have. And for a few years in a row there, I had that one family member sitting at the Christmas dinner table complaining about the stuff he didn't have. Butter, salt, a white president, all the usual stuff. Finally got his wish. Grandma got extra butter. Anywho, living on the east side, as they call it, has its perks. I live pretty close to some of the clubs over there. Back when I had the money to burn, I made a few bonfires over on the east side. I didn't realize how bad the economy was until one time a stripper told me that she had a second job. And I feel like that would make for an awkward situation, seeing a gal that once gave you a lap dance working the cash register at the grocery store. And I know how I am. I would slip up and say the wrong thing. She would ask paper or plastic, and I would say, clearly plastic. Been doing the comedy thing for a little while. It's been a lot of fun. I don't have any t-shirts or CDs or merchandise for sale after the show, but my mom is really big into gardening, so I'm going to unload some zucchini afterwards if anyone's interested. Got a few people in the house with gardeners in their family. A little bit more before I get out of here, as soon as I think of it. But I worked at a radio station one time, and that was an interesting job because you screw up, everyone listening knows it. I remember doing a traffic report one time, and there was a problem on Bowles Avenue here locally, except I mispronounced it and said Bowles Avenue. You get a few phone calls about that one to correct you, especially when there's a traffic problem because no one likes to hear about jammed bowels. Thankfully, the problem had cleared up by the time I read the next report, bowels had movement. Anyways, doing radio, the problem with me in radio is I'm clueless about music. For the longest time, I thought Nickelback was a midget football player. Let's put that in perspective. I mean, I remember hearing a song one time. That's the problem with me in music. I'm clueless about the lyrics. I heard this song one time. It may have been in the strip club. That part's not important. But in the song, the singer compared his lower extremities to Jesus, which didn't make sense to me because who wants one that takes 3 days to rise? I think that's going to do it for me, you guys. You guys ready to keep the show moving? Absolutely. It is my pleasure to bring up to the stage a guy who's been entertaining wrestling fans across the globe for the past several decades, WWE Hall of Famer. Ladies and gentlemen, let me bring up to the stage Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
That's right, tough guy.
All right, man. Yeah. Thanks everybody for coming out tonight. Appreciate it. First thing you know, woo! My good friend Ric Flair, right? Every time you see Rick, right? Every time you see Rick.